A calm, a breath, a chip, and a win for FC Dallas.
They think he wanted it.
And it's a giveaway again. The goalkeeper makes the first save, but he can't stop the second. Again, it's a mistake at the back. Again, NYCFC take advantage. There's no doubt now. They're moving on.
Night 3 of the Audi 2022 MLS Cup Playoffs is in the books. NYCFC moving on, ending Gonzalo Higuain's career in the process. FC Dallas, it took 120 minutes, but we're getting a Texas derby, folks. Alan Velasco, yeah, he's got that dog in him. He'll hit you with the Panenka with the game on the line. From 14-8 we go. The conference semifinals are set. Round 1 is over. Just one upset in the first 6 games. That's FC Cincinnati knocking off the Red Bulls, a 5 seed over a 4 seed. Other than that, it's all chalk. LAFC, LA Galaxy, El Tráfico on Thursday. Can't wait for that. Can't wait for Copa Tejas either. Austin, Dallas coming at you. Philly, Cincinnati out east. And Montreal, the 2 seed, will host the 3 seed NYCFC. I am Andrew Wiebe. Welcome to the AT&T 5G virtual studios. I'm hanging out, as always, after the playoff final whistle with my partners in soccer, Matt Doyle, Charlie Davies, Calen Carr. All right, we'll break down these games tonight. We'll talk about those PKs, about the bravery of Velasco. We'll talk about the Young Bucks and Maxi for NYCFC, Charlie. But let's look ahead first. Just a glimpse. What are you looking forward to in these conference semifinals? We got some juicy matchups, man. El Tráfico. Everybody's looking for it, Doyle. But come on, we got Copa Tejas too. Give it some love.
Yeah, you said it. Copa Tejas deserves some love, especially after what we saw from tonight from Alan Velasco. And we got, Hill Country Barbecue versus Giant Tacos. What more could you ask for MLS playoffs, Wiebe?
Vaqueros, 12 inches, man. Fill it up. That was the story early in the game, of course, between Dallas and Minnesota. But at the end, it's the PKs. But Montreal and NYCFC, and that's more about the soccer, I think, and style of play, a clash of similar clubs.
I'm never going to hate on soccer in Texas, right? I wish my team was playing, but I'm looking out east. I think NYCFC and Montreal have been the 2 best teams. They played the best soccer to this point. Both like to dominate possession. We've seen some young stars. Montreal, Kone, just 20 years old. Tonight, we saw Pereira, 21 years old. And then that battle for the middle of pitch. Who can control it? Maxi, Keaton Parks potentially. Does he step in? Santi Rodriguez, and then that triangle in the middle for Montreal is killer as well. So I think that one's the key match for me.
Big time at City Field for NYCFC. We'll talk more about that, about the last game of Gonzalo Higuain and his storied career. I'm looking forward to Philly Cincy. You've got those connections. You've got some brotherly love. You've got on one side Jim Curtin, and you've got on the other side the guys that were in the locker room with him the last couple years. Pat Noonan, the head coach. Chris Albright was in that front office. It's going to be a really delicious matchup. But let's dive into these highlights from Frisco. FC Dallas, Minnesota, 1-1 in regulation. They played the extra time period. Didn't get a goal there. It went to PKs. And who was the hero? None other than Alan Velasco. A 5-4 win for Dallas. Didn't miss a single PK. Dane St. Clair had saved 4 of 8 in his career leading up to this moment. Calen just could not get the job done when it was all on the line.
Yeah, Reynoso got things going in the first half and took the advantage on the road. And then you see Dallas coming back off the set piece. But yeah, then as it went on, you would have said, okay, once it goes to penalties, all the advantage is with Minnesota United and Dane St. Clair in goal. And you see the save that Paz made on Will Trapp, which was big. But then really just the courage, Velasco just absolutely, I mean, Stu Holden was talking on the broadcast about stepping in as a young player into MLS Cup on that same field for the Dynamo and banging his up in the, I guess just being decisive and having that confidence. Well, there was no confidence lost in this one. Velasco just stepped up and just ice in his veins. It was and send him on to go to the next round to go against Austin.
These short run-ups were absolutely throwing me off from FC Dallas. You just saw it with Jesus Ferreira one, then Lagwani came in and scored an ice in his veins equalizer for Minnesota. But there's a winner from Alan Velasco. And I'm sorry, man. Like, I don't see how Dane St. Clair is not going to be haunted by this for the rest of his life. Because watching him flail on his back with the ball just sort of gently floating over his head, just out of reach, it's like every nightmare I've ever had in my entire life, just all in one moment on the soccer field. It was incredible.
I would say the expectation is to score on a penalty. So Dane St. Clair is as good as he is, as big of a presence as he is. He's not supposed to save these. He gives you a great opportunity to save it, and he was close. He was close on
that
a couple.
first one. Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you just have to tip your cap to Velasco, who comes up with that magical slow motion chip. And no matter what, that's just, you got to give it up. I mean, I salute the kid, because that takes a lot of courage to pull that off and to win it for your team.
It was not the only Panenka by FC Dallas in the shootout either. Frank O'Hara started it out with one. Dane St. Clair got that one to come back in the fifth take for Velasco and put it home. The young DP for Dallas, a huge moment. That was a huge moment as well. Twitter going wild with Jesus Ferreira's miss. He'll have another opportunity, though. We talked about it as we were coming into the show. What if this is the end of the line for Dallas? Well, it's not going to be. They're moving on. Copa Tejas. They have got a game against Austin coming up on Sunday, October 23rd on ESPN. So that should be another opportunity for Jesus Ferreira. But Doyle, let's dig in a little bit on this game for Dallas. We were talking, it was a little bit more of the same for them. They have the ball, but they don't have the cutting edge. And in the end, lucky, I think, to get to penalties to make this thing get over the line.
Yeah, they really were, because they left themselves open a couple of times. Paz had a very nice game. But there was a lot of this from Dallas where they would get into the final third. And, I mean, to be fair, this was actually more penetration than they were actually creating most of the time. And you see Ferreira missed the big chance right there. But, like, that was more activity in the box than we were seeing from FC Dallas, because so many times, Paul Arriola in particular would make a nice play. He'd find one ball over the top, as he's about to do here. And then everyone else just sort of standing around in the box. Nobody's attacking the ball. Nobody's anticipating. Like, if you see your teammate making a run to the back post and the guy at the top of the box is chipping that angled ball, like, don't just assume he's going to win it. Just assume that he's going to put the header back across the six. Make that run. Don't wait for him to win it. And because if you do that, it's too late. The moment is gone. But that was the story of the night for Dallas. And honestly, that's been kind of the story of the year for them. They do a lot of nice things with the ball, but it's not like methodical. It becomes ponderous. And that's the difference between them and an NYCFC or a Montreal right now, because they're possession teams too, but they know when to find the gas pedal and when to, jam it all the way down. And suddenly the ball's in the back of the net. Dallas don't seem to have that gear right now.
Jesus Ferreira, Charlie.
Oh, yeah.
Grade the performance for me.
I was gonna go in just build off of what Doyle said. And when you see Montreal play, and in particular Ishmael Kone's goal, right, coming in that weak side, it's the movement, because he believes that Kai Kamara is going to lay it off to Mihailovic, and Mihailovic is going to find him if he makes that run. In this game, you got two players to pass, and then the third movement wasn't there. And then we saw in the second half, and I know Arriola came out injured with the groin, and we'll talk about that later, but it wasn't expansive enough. Greg Berhalter always talks about verticality, play more vertical. Where was that from Jesus Ferreira? He was checking so deep. At times, he looked like he was playing in a defensive midfield position because he dropped so deep. And therefore, you looked up top and there was no one there. This is your number 9. He has to be playing off the shoulders of the center backs for Minnesota. Otherwise, there was no threat. You were hoping for a run from an outside midfielder in behind to stretch. And if Areola was coming inside to protect the midfield, you had absolutely no one up there. And that's what it looked like. FC Dallas would win the ball and their heads would go up and no one's there. They'd have to play short passes and look to combine to get into the attacking half. That for me is a big problem. So Jesus Ferrer, if I'm going to grade him, he wasn't threatening enough. Your striker needs to threaten. This was a match for him to show, hey, I'm ready to take that pressure. I'm ready to help FC Dallas get into the next round. And he did come through in the penalty spot at the end of the game. I'm not going to take that away from him. That's a big moment. He came through. But throughout the run of play, it just wasn't good enough for a player of his quality and the expectations that are placed on him. So you hope that he'll go home tonight, he'll watch the video, and he'll see where he needs to improve and where he needs to his position needs to be higher up the pitch.
So he was a little hobbled there. You saw him stretching, having some issues in extra time. Was good enough to take the PK, but there are two guys, Calen, that had to leave this game early that are critical parts of this FC Dallas squad. Paxton Pomykal seems like a hamstring. Maybe we pulled him out early, and then the big one, I think, Paul Areola, pulling at his groin, had to be removed from the game. Let's look ahead a little bit.
Oh, okay, sorry. He did jog off a little bit, it looked like, but yeah.
Yeah, well, let's look ahead just a little bit to this conference semifinal where you may or may not have full strength stars. Ultimately, it's what those guys amount to. If you're Dallas, what are you thinking after this game, and how do you look ahead to that game against Austin?
Well, I think you just got to take it and say it came down to penalties. You never know how that's going to go, and be thankful that you have the opportunity to go again. If you're Austin, though, on the other side, you're going to be feeling thankful as well, because best case scenario was this match was going to go through extra time into penalties as well. And then you look at the team that is going through and you say, yeah, no, Pomykal is an important player for them. And with his injury history, it's awful, just, as somebody who watches him play a lot, to see him go down again. And then Areola, has a lot at stake, of course, with trying to make the World Cup team and preparing for that. And then, of course, through the playoffs. So depending on two of them, that might be two very important starters they might be missing in a crucial match. So I think if you're Austin FC, you probably take that, especially when you're playing at home and you have that crowd behind you. So, unfortunate for FC Dallas, but I think in a way it's almost going to put more on Ferreira's shoulders and be really important for him to respond, because I agree with Charlie, had that big opportunity, did not step up, kept dropping deep, needs to step up in a big way if they want to get on to the next round.
The lasting memory from Copa Tejas this year is Austin FC celebrating in the parking lot in Frisco with their fans. This time, Dallas go on the road. They go to Austin on Sunday. ESPN is your destination on that one. Earlier that day, Montreal, New York City, and Thursday, of course, we've got Philly, Cincy, and El Tráfico, both of those on FS1. The conference semifinals are set. Both Austin and Dallas getting here on PKs. Both will have played 120 minutes. Minnesota, though, Charlie, going home. Out of this thing, it took them till the decision day to get their playoff spot sealed. Thought they might have enough that Reynoso gets the goal. It just wasn't to be in PKs. What is the feeling for them going into the offseason?
Well, they need an attacker. They need a 9. And I think they thought Luis Amarilla was going to be the guy initially. Then they moved off of him. They went and got another striker. That wasn't the guy. So then they came back to Luis Amarilla, and he produced here and there. But ultimately, you need a real 9 who's going to be consistent every single match, so that you have a consistent other threat, because you can't just have your midfielder trying to make the game and depending on him, because you're too one-dimensional, and that's what happened for Minnesota. They were too one-dimensional. So I know they've had some injuries, but ultimately next year they have to go out and get a striker who is going to be consistent and score goals for them, because it hasn't worked out for them.
Dabasi out, Doyle. Is center back another spot to address? Have to address style of play, or is this just who they are?
Yeah, I mean, I think addressing style of play is a big part of it, because so much of it goes through Emmanuel Reynoso, and he's fantastic, and he brings them to the playoffs every year. But the only time they've done anything in the playoffs is the time that he had help. And Charlie's right. They have to figure out how to either get more out of Amarilla or to bring in a higher level 9. But I would argue that maybe winger is an even bigger issue, because when they were at their best in 2020, Kevin Molino was playing at a best 11 caliber off of Reynoso, and they've never been able to replace what he brought. So they have to figure out center forward. They have to figure out either left wing or right wing. They definitely have to figure out center back, because they got 3 guys in their mid-30s there, and they haven't developed anyone. So they got a lot on their list. The good news is they got a lot of central midfielders. They got a good backup goalkeeper. They may be able to work the phones this winter and create a little bit of space on that roster and get some stuff done.
I would also add to put Robin Lode back into a more advanced position. He was put as a defensive minded midfielder because he can do it, but he was better for the squad when he was higher up the field.
Look, it's an offseason that may see some changes for Minnesota, but 4 straight years in the playoffs, 2 straight out in round 1. That is not something they're happy about, but we are happy to say the Audi Goals Drive Progress Program is back for another year of playoff soccer. For every single goal scored in the Audi MLS Cup Playoffs, $2,000 will be contributed to the Audi Goals Drive Progress Fund, directly supporting MLS Youth Academies. Thanks to the 15 goals so far in this postseason, $30,000 has been donated. A lot more to come as well. And don't forget, you can visit BR Football's Instagram page and tune in to the Driving Force story for match previews and highlights of the Audi MLS Cup playoffs. The most electric moments are there at BR Football. Go check it out on Instagram, all the highlights. We know that is what you want from those. All right, let's go to our first game of the night. NYCFC hosting Inter Miami at Citi Field. Gonzalo Higuain, will it be a swan song, or will it be another moment of glory? Well, Calen, there was a moment. He was just offside, and that wouldn't come again for him, because this was New York City's game, basically from front to back.
Yeah, it was a beautiful ball behind, but just offside. And yeah, a lot of people were saying, oh, could NYCFC be in trouble here? And Inter Miami had been playing well down the back half, and Gonzalo Higuain's last game and all the emotion that's involved with that. But after that double post there, there was more of that pushing forward. And you see Inter Miami's backs get drawn up a little here, and Santi Rodriguez does a really good job. And then Pereira, are you kidding me? Putting that into the top corner. What a finish. Just 21 years old. He had a coming out day today. I mentioned Kone yesterday for Montreal, but for me, Pereira was a standout. Just fantastic finish here. And then as you move forward, you get this long build-up play, great combination, understanding. You guys were talking about a lack of movement. Well, there was nothing lacking in this. What an incredible little back heel there, or rolled it back from Pereira and puts it into Maxi. Mr. Reliable, playoffs, clutch as you like. Big time finish for him. And then later on, Eber gets sort of a poacher's goal, shall we say. He was not tracking back too far at that point. They're up a goal and basically handed it over to him, which he was happy to take from there. But yeah, NYCFC, I think, a reminder of, this is the defending champs. I think this was one where they came out and they said, we play the best football still. And I know Montreal, you guys play nice. We'll see how that happens in the next match. Great. But I think that is such an intriguing matchup with two teams that have played just such good stuff. But NYCFC tonight, deserved winners, and hat tip to Higuain. The emotion you could see for him, incredible career, and you could see that coming out, as well as being honored, I think, by players on both sides and managers and the fans after the match.
Phil Neville, we'll have more from him in just a bit on Higuain, as well as Higuain himself on his career and what this moment meant to him. A 3-0 win for NYCFC, Charlie. Are they for real? Are they MLS Cup contenders? Are you looking at them now saying, oh, wow, they could repeat? Because there were moments this year where it didn't feel like that, especially after the sale of Tati.
Yes, if they beat Montreal, I mean, Montreal is a damn good team. Let's be honest. The way they play, Wilfred Nancy has the confidence at an all-time high, and they're playing at home. If NYCFC can win at Montreal, they have what it takes to get to a final, because they can rely on that experience. Maxi Morales still has the quality. That hasn't gone away. And we're seeing an upgrade, almost like these players are evolving right under our eyes. Santi Rodriguez and Gabby Pereira. Fantastic players. The way they can combine and also they're not afraid to mix it up and merge, and it's almost like they can blend under a 9. And if they get Tyus Magno back healthy, who's also good, better at hold up play. It almost looked like Eber was a little slow. He didn't have that explosion that we're used to seeing, but he still was able to finish the goal in the end. He stuck with it, which is also awesome because of all the hurdles and adversity he's had to face with injury. So this team's for real, and it's not going to be an easy game. One game I think might be the most entertaining game of soccer, quality soccer in the playoffs.
Got to give props to Nick Cushing, the manager. He was not the manager you will remember to start the season. He was not the manager that won MLS Cup. That was Ronnie Doyle. Doyle went back to Europe midseason. Nick Cushing took the job. It took a little time for them to get going, but they're back going again. David Goss, for the third night in a row, was on site for a playoff match and caught up with Cushing after this big win.
Coach, congratulations for starters. Let's start with the performance from this team. This feels like NYCFC again. What have you seen from this group the last few weeks? What did you see tonight?
Just a hunger and a desire to put a performance on for these fans. We were disappointed in those moments when we weren't getting wins and we were conceding too many goals. And I think over the last 6 games, you've seen a team that has a real desire to play good football and win football games.
It feels like the attack, it's flowing again. What's been the key to that?
I just think, desire. I think, when we were losing, we still had the hunger and we just wanted to get on the training field and fix those small problems. And what we get is a team with Maxi Morales, Santi Rodriguez, Gabriel Pereira. You see Tales out, Heber goes in. So, yeah, the team's really hungry at the moment.
And defensively, it feels like Alex Collins has changed things for you. What have you seen?
Yeah, I think putting Thiago Martins, Maxime Chenot and Alex Cayens in there, we very rarely get the goal threatened. And I think you see that tonight between Sean and those three central defenders. I don't remember real clear opportunities.
Any early thought on Montreal?
Really difficult game. They're a really good team. Team in really good form and a really tactical team and a good football team, so it'll be a difficult game.
Congrats, enjoy.
Thank you, appreciate it. Thank you.
Boy, I think every team in MLS would like to have City Football Group's scouting apparatus. When they go to South America and get a young player, they do not miss. Tati is sort of the big name we think about. When you look at this game, Santi, Gabi Pereira, Tyus Magno can't even play. Nicolas Acevedo starting in midfield. Thiago Andrade comes on. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. And they make the difference in the playoffs for the second year in a row.
Yeah, they did. And they've really leaned into the idea of what MLS teams can be as sort of almost a clearinghouse for the top talent in South America. The NYCFC, like, they're trying to be Palmeiras. They're trying to be Flamengo. They want to get the guys who go to those clubs and they want to bring them to MLS and they want to develop them, win with them, and sell them. And they're starting to make it real, man. Like we saw it with Yangel Herrera a couple years back. We saw it with Tati. And now this next crew, I mean, Tales Magno's supposed to be the best of them. I think at times this year he was. Gabi Pereira came out of nowhere. Nobody knew about this kid. And he came in, he's been as good as any of them since midseason. Then Santi Rodriguez, he came in with all this hype. He kind of under-delivered. This season, he's been spectacular. Like, he looks like a guy, they finally have an heir for Maxi Morales. And then there's one more point I want to make here. Did you guys catch the last sub of the night? Matthias Pellegrini.
I did.
Victory cigar, baby. Did you guys used to have him? Oh, yeah. Yes. We have him now on loan.
Another
the last second.
Talented young South American. Yeah. He was part of that initial roster build in Miami. I'm looking forward to seeing what they'll end up doing with him in the Bronx.
Now, look, Doyle, we're talking about young players, but I want to talk about, the old hand, let's say, the guy that's been around since February 2017, who helped elevate this club from, hey, are you going to get it done, or are you going to be also Rans, to a team that can reasonably dream about 2 MLS Cups in a row. That is Maxi Morales. You saw the goal from him. He's 35 years young. Anytime they're doing anything special, he's right in the middle of it, and he's there yet again.
Yeah, and because he's always moving, and he's always scanning, he's always looking for space. He has eyes in the back of his head, but he's always checking behind his head anyway, just because he knows that as soon as the defender moves, if he takes that space, then he's going to be open. And that movement sort of keys everything that NYCFC do. And you saw it on the build up to this goal. And part of what that unlocks is the ability for guys like Santi Rodriguez, who had the back heel assist on this one, to sort of explore their own games, to be more creative, because Maxi's a number 10, right? He wants to hit the last ball, but he's also really comfortable as a sidekick because he's always looking for that space and he's always willing to play off of you. He just creates chemistry with anybody he's on the field with. And it's such a gift, and it's been so much fun to watch him play. Even this year, he's literally the slowest player in the league. You couldn't tell it tonight because he was always wide open. That's how you know the guy's brain real fast.
Yeah, you don't need to have speed when you can see ahead, and that's something that Maxi has. And you look around the scouting network, and you guys did a good job of going through that. I mean, we've seen talented players get brought up, and it's not really replicable. Atlanta United is a perfect example where it doesn't quite fit on the pitch. And I think it took Cushing a little while to get the system right. But sure, it just looks different when you have Maxi involved, right? He just knows how to connect, play those important pieces, and make everyone better. And, you know, when it comes to clutch time, he's also been there, done that. 3 goals, 6 assists, 12 postseason games. I think 1 goal last year, 3 assists on the way to MLS Cup. I still think about what would have this looked like if Maxi was healthy during their CCL run. So you see now, to have him going at the right time around this group, you're seeing him bring out the best of everyone else around him.
Another run for Maxi, another run for NYCFC. They're on to the conference semifinals. Who's watching that one? Well, in a delay at Yankee Stadium, they got a little bit of that. Couldn't watch any baseball tonight, but they did see their hometown boys get that victory across the city at Citi Field. Now, look, one of the big moments of the night, one of the images that'll last for me is Max Morales finding Gonzalo Higuain after the final whistle, giving him a big hug, saying what he needed to say to what is a legend in world football, to a legend in Argentine soccer as well. We heard from Phil Neville and Gonzalo himself, the final game of his career.
Well, I think we've just gone through something in there with him in terms of we've had real difficult moments. He's had real difficult moments when a lot has been questioned of him, a lot has been aimed at him, and his form probably wasn't as good as what it should have been. But what we said to him is that he's leaving in exactly the right way that he should be leaving, with the goals that he scored, the happiness in which he's played, the way that he's embraced his teammates and carried his teammates. He's exactly what we expect and expected, and I think he can be massively proud. It's a massive adaptation period for any footballer to come to the MLS, particularly when you've played in Europe in the Champions League, to come here. And I think it's a big learning curve for people when you think it's going to be easy, and it's not. This is the hardest league in the world to adapt to because of everything that goes with it, and it took time for him to adapt. You know, people forget last season he was still our top goal scorer, top assist maker. He didn't have the players around him last season that he had this season. He didn't have the team around him last season. You've got to have a team, you know. And this season we've got a team, and he's prospered and helped that team. So I'm proud to have managed him. I think as a club we're proud to have had him as our first ever DP, one of our first ever DPs alongside Pizarro, and he leaves in, I think, a good moment. He leaves in a good moment. He helped us get to the playoffs, and he can now enjoy his retirement, and we wish him all the best, and he'll always be welcome.
Que el jugar acá haya ayudado para el próximo año en la mentalidad ganadora, y como dije antes, desearle lo mejor, porque el fútbol podés ganar, perder, pero me llevo gente muy valiosa, y la verdad que pasé un año maravilloso, más allá de este final. Pasé un año maravilloso en el cual he conocido gente espectacular, y desearles lo mejor para el año que viene. Y como dijiste tú, ojalá que el jugar conmigo les haya, aunque sea, podido dejar algo para el año que viene.
Yeah, I think that what I'm taking with me, and the most important thing that I can be proud of in my career is not the goals. I think the most important thing is that I've been able to be a good person, and that I'm leaving what I think are great values in every team that I've played in. Again, being a good person is the most important thing. The other things that happen in your career are great, and you enjoy them, but the values that you leave behind are the most special things for me. And I hope that having played here at this club, I've helped in the long term as well, to be able to set a winning.
All right, striker to striker, Charlie. You hear what Gonzalo has to say. You've seen what he's done this season. Also what he did at the beginning of the season, by the way, when Phil Neville benched him. What is the enduring memory of Gonzalo Higuain in MLS for you?
I think it was a rough start. But what I'm going to remember Higuain for is his way of battling and overcoming the adversity, coming to a new club, to a new league, and proving himself again, because he's played in 3 World Cups. He scored 107 goals for Real Madrid. He scored 71 goals for Napoli. He scored 48 goals for Juve. And all of that means nothing because you're based on what you can do now. And your team was in a rut. You had all these expectations. Things weren't going well. It could have easily been where I'm done. I'm not working. I don't have to prove myself anymore. I've done it all. I'm just going to collect my paycheck. And that's not what he did. He went the complete opposite direction. He worked for his team. He said, I'm going to get dirty. I'm going to prove to you that I want to be on the field, that I want to help my team. And he did just that. I mean, the run that he went on, 7 goals in 5 games, starting in August 27th when he scored against Red Bulls. And then he got that goal against Chicago and just went on this crazy tear. I'm going to look back and just say, congratulations. That is how you end your career. You went out with a bang because it was the mentality that you showed. You dug deep. You gave everything you had to go out. I always say, if you know you're coming towards the end, you want to make sure when you leave the game, you have nothing left. You have absolutely nothing left. Because if someone came up to you and said, hey, Gonzalo, we could use you on this squad. I have nothing left to give. I have no regrets. My man played in 3 World Cups, scored all these goals, but he's talking about character. And he's got people are going to remember him about how they made them, how he made them feel. And for me, Higuain uplifted a whole organization, uplifted a locker room, and went out in style. I have nothing but respect for the way he went out because he talks about mental health. Everyone comes at him for missing goals, for missing those big opportunities in big matches, for maybe not coming through in a playoff game against New York City FC at Citi Field. Know what? That's not what it's about. It's about how you carried yourself, how you'll be remembered as a professional and top class. So congratulations to Gonzalo and what he did with his time here in Major League Soccer. This was not a vacation. Not at all.
Yeah. He didn't take it to the second half of this year, and he left this team with good vibes. And Phil Neville talked about that. Like this year did a lot to change the way people feel about Inter Miami. I don't think any of us expected to be talking about them in the playoffs at any point in this season up until the last couple of minutes, or last couple of weeks rather. They still have a lot of work to do this offseason. Higuain's gone. That's 1 DP. We know Pizarro's gone. That's 2 DPs. Alejandro Pozuelo coming back. That's 3 DPs. The rest of their attack, it's kind of cobbled together. Leo Campana, is he worth bringing back? And then they have to address central defense as well. So there's a lot of work that this team is going to have to do this offseason. It's good though, because with that central midfield, they have some pieces there now. The fullbacks are good. Drake Callender was a revelation this year. They have a foundation. Finally, they're not a meme team. They can get out of this expansion era. They can start trying to build something for the long term. What Gonzalo Higuain did for the last 4 months, that's a big part of it.
Only thing I would add real quick, Phil Neville deserves a ton of credit for being able to keep Higuain with the team when he set him to the side and put him on the bench. To be able to keep a player like that off the pitch and then bring him back onto it in such an important way deserves a lot of credit. So I think there's a lot of culture moving forward, which isn't something you could say before. And you'd have to say Gonzalo Higuain and most importantly, Phil Neville have been a part of building that.
But their season is over. Just 8 teams left. On the chase for November 5th in MLS Cup, Montreal, NYCFC coming up on Sunday. That'll be the preamble to Austin FC Dallas. Calen, give me a preview of this Montreal-New York City matchup.
Yeah, we talked about the other ones on the West Coast and in Texas, and I'm excited for those, but I really am excited for this style of play between these two teams. Both love having the ball at their feet, have such intricate passing patterns. They have a real system, a philosophy that they believe in, are committed to. I really think this is going to come down to the battle in the middle of midfield. If you look at who's going to dominate possession, you've got Wanyama, Mihailovic, and Piet. And then on the other side, you got Maxi, Santi Rodriguez, and then potentially either Acevedo or Keaton Parks. And that's the one big question mark for me as far as the lineup goes. Is it's hard to change the team after you have success in the playoffs. I've been there, and I've known it's difficult if you come off a win. It's tough to make those tiny changes and see if those could backfire. That said, if you're really trying to dominate the ball, Keaton Park's a nice option, especially a fresh one. So I could see them potentially making a move in that direction.
All right, conference semifinals starting on Thursday, October 20th. Your first game, 8 p.m. Eastern, FS1, Philadelphia, Cincinnati. A ton of connections between those teams. Cincinnati, 3 straight spoons, but they believe, why not us? Why not this year? LAFC, LA. LAFC, it better be their year. They've been built around this. They've spent around this. They got the players to go do it. Now, can they get it done and win their first MLS Cup? 10 p.m. Eastern, FS1. Fox Deportes. That'll be the path in the Western Conference where it was chalk through round 1. Your 1 seed moving on, 2 seed, 3 seed, 4 seed, all the favorites going forward. Then in the East, Montreal, New York City on Sunday, October 23rd. ESPN at 1 p.m. Eastern, and then Austin, FC Dallas. Copa Tejas action on 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. Okay. Those are your paths. I'm going to take a quick look here at El Tráfico first, because how could you not love it? How could you not love that Fate gives us 2 rivalry matches in the Western Conference, and Fate, for the first time since 2019, gives us El Tráfico. Now, the Galaxy haven't been back to the playoffs in 2019, and who ended their playoff run in 2019? Yeah, it was LAFC getting the monkey off their back. Now, Diego Rossi's gone. So is Adama Diamande. They scored 3 of the 5 goals in a 5-2 win. Pavone scored a goal. Ibrahimovic. Rolf Felcher scored a goal for the Galaxy. These are different teams, especially on the LA side. Cannot wait to see how this one goes. So what do you think? El Tráfico in the playoffs? That's a gift, man.
Yeah, it should be a wide open game. I don't think either of these teams really has the ability to button it up and play the kind of cagey game that we've seen here and there throughout the first round of these playoffs. So I would expect this to be high scoring. I'm not going to say it's going to be 5-3, but it wouldn't shock me if it was 3-2. And the Galaxy are they're playing a hell of a lot better than they were just a couple of months ago. As Charlie said at the top of the show, Ricky Puig has been just a remarkable ad, and they've got a couple other guys now up the spine, and Chicharito's hot. Chicharito, like, he is making the game even if he's not scoring, he is making the way the game has played with his off-ball work. And LAFC, Shield champs or not, they're going to have their hands full.
All right, let's look at the conference side before we wrap this thing up. As I said, you've got Philly, Cincinnati, Montreal, New York City will come on Sunday, but let's keep it focused, Charlie, on that Philly-Cincy game. You got a little time in the city of brotherly love. How do you think these two sides are looking at each other? They're like, it's the Spider-Man meme. It's like, hold on, you're me, I'm you. What's going on here?
One matchup I'm going to absolutely love is the midfield battle. Jose Martinez, Lucho Acosta, right? Lucho Acosta, the way he moves, Jose Martinez is going to track him. And then on the opposite side, Gazdag, Wobodo. Just those two competing. The midfield is going to be a massive battle between these two squads. And then I think the X factor is, can Barreal continue to get up and down that left flank against Baizo? And then on the opposite, can Powell neutralize Kai Wagner, because Kai Wagner's service? The two center forwards for Philadelphia Union, untested in the playoffs, they have to come up big. If this is going to be the Union's postseason, if they're finally going to get MLS Cup, Carranza and Mikael are going to have to be big. That partnership, not only on the attacking side of the ball, but defensively, working together, the press, and then capitalizing in that transition game. This is going to be an incredible match. It's going to be back and forth. It'll get wide open. I'm really looking to see how Vasquez, Brenner, Carranza, and Ura, the two strikers, just going at it. I could see this being high scoring. 3-2, 4-3. I could see this being a crazy.
I would love to see that. I'm definitely ready for that. And this Cincinnati team does match up well with Philadelphia, in part because, as you mentioned, they're made in their own image. They've really maximized that roster from everything from using the draft. Celentano in goal has been very good. Going out into the free agent market, bringing back Miazga. I thought he was very good in that first match against Red Bull. And then they've really actually gotten the best out of their existing talent. Brenner being probably the best example, and then continuing to work with Vasquez, who gets his first playoff goal and his first start. So I get a little nervous for the 1 seeds because I think there's some playoff sweat already on FC Cincinnati. They had to do it in Red Bull Arena coming in. That said, I can't go against Philly. They were so good throughout the season. I actually think it'll probably be more about a defensive, how defensively solid they are with Blake. And then FC Cincinnati still having a propensity to give up a chance or two. And if you do that against a Philly team, that can be lights out.
The
All right,
pressure.
raise your hand.
The pressure.
You got a
The
perfect
pressure's
bracket.
on Philly.
The pressure is on Philly.
I don't want to hear Wiebe. You're done.
No, you're not raising your hand, Charlie. Why are you not raising your hand? You want to change the topic now?
We'll see what it's like in the conference finals, okay?
Okay, all right. Your bracket was busted there too, buddy.
Yeah, we'll see.
You know Andre Blake. He doesn't seem swayed by
all
pressure.
my conference finalists are still in it. They're still in it. So,
okay. All right, we'll see.
I'll
I'm the
let
only
your
one
boy.
with my hands raised right
I'll
now.
let your boy.
Only one with the perfect bracket. I'm just saying, night 3 of the Audi 2022 MLS Cup Playoffs in the books. Thank you so much for following along with us. It's been a great first round. We're on to the conference semifinals Thursday and Sunday. All the coverage, MLSsoccer.com, the MLS app, TV listings are there as well. We will be with you on Thursday night after the conference semis, after El Tráfico. Make sure you tune in on FS1, and we're going to record extra time bright and early tomorrow for you as well. So check your podcast feeds on that one. With that, we're out of here. Happy Monday night, everybody. Get some sleep. It's a long week. Adios.
Instant replay coming at you tomorrow. Hey.